Welcome to D&H 2906 Productions. In this completion, you will see action from two of New York State's mainline railroads, from the Norfolk Southern and the CSX. CSX and Norfolk Southern compete for the northeastern and eastern markets of American railroading, and they are rivals. We start off on the Norfolk Southern on the former D&H main line between Binghamton and Albany, New York. Our first train of the video is Norfolk Southern Train 11R. 11R, funnily enough, starts off on the CSX. CSX took over Pan Am Railways in June 2022. Pan Am Railways operated a line between AR, Massachusetts and Mechanicsville, New York that this train would use. The train retains its Norfolk Southern power the entire trip, even on the CSX/Pan Am. 11R is daily manifest freight from AR, Massachusetts to Binghamton, New York. The train is handed off from CSX back to Norfolk Southern and Mechanicsville, where an NS crew will take it from Mechanicsville to Binghamton. This is the section on the Norfolk Southern. This is Bainbridge, New York. Milepost 580.71. Mechanicsville is at 485. 11R usually has a typical manifest block, loaded trash containers heading south and west, some of it heading out to Tennessee, and some of it heading out to the Chicago area, and empty auto racks also heading out west. Tonight's train is powered unusually by 5 locomotives. All 5 of them seem to be working tonight, but I'm only guessing on that. The first 2 were extra add-ons. The first 2 brought an extra train up north a couple of nights previous to this. Another rarity is that, yes, the SD60s are in the train, but they are not leading. The SD60s are required to run on the Pan Am/CSX due to the Pan Am and the Massachusetts Bay Transit Authority having special PTC guidelines. There's a special PTC box on the SD60Es. It is the only engine where the PTC box can be fit, and the box is right behind the fuel tank and in front of the rear truck. $11R is about an hour and 20 minutes outside of its destination of Binghamton, New York. However, the crew decides that they're going to stop in Afton to check their brakes before they take on the massive Belton Hill.
Roger that, the flash flood run it. Warning for number 5238 and Bolton 5231, I believe. Both pointed over.
Sorry, what was that second one you gave me? That was a 5222, over.
Roger, 5222.
Copy that, yep. I'll show you receiving those at 807. That's 807 in the PM, over.
Roger that. That was a good copy. At 807 in the PM, 807 PM.
That's right. Big signal indication going in for the Binghamton track, over.
Okay, I'm going to take and stop for a minute and check my brakes out, set my brakes, and use the restroom real quick, and then I'll be on the way, okay?
That'll be fine. Just signal indication when you're ready.
Roger, just so you know what's up.
Use this system.
Next up on the agenda to come on the D&H was on Tuesday night. This 30T had all four in power to power its way to Binghamton. 30T is off the Canadian Pacific from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. The train is handed over to Norfolk Southern in Saratoga Springs, New York, where Norfolk Southern takes it from Saratoga Springs to Binghamton, New York. CP and NS handled the train for the majority of its trip, but the train actually starts off on the Canadian National, hence the CN power up front, kept it on the entire way. The BNSF power somehow managed its way to get all the way east. It must have been full power on another train somewhere, because that's the only way it got here. 30T handles mostly lumber and Canadian paper products. Along with covered hoppers, tank cars filled with acid and fuel. Sometimes on flat cars you can even see pieces of steel. Not sure where it's steel, but I'll help you. Sometimes it won't be you that catches something, but a family member. This D&H caboose sits on the ground near the old Penn Division in Windsor, New York. This photo was captured by my mother. But it was time to leave the D&H and head up north to the New York Central line, now owned by CSX. This is Syracuse, New York. Or be called the Orange City, the Salt City, you name it. I know it as Trainapalooza, as 40 trains per day come down this line. This platform that I'm standing on sits right outside the Destiny USA Mall by the food court and the carousel. Our first train on the former New York Central water level route. This train is CSX train I0003. This train goes from South Kearny, New Jersey to Bedford Park, Illinois. The train consists of Amazon containers, UPS containers, J.B. Hunt, Walmart, you name it, which is why it's high priority. Intermodal takes high priority on the CSX. Powered by a recently rebuilt CM44AC, rebuilt from an AC4400 CW, and an ES44AC, the train continued its way west to Bedford Park, Illinois. However, the two locomotives at the front are not the only locomotives on this train. In this train today is a mid-train DPU, Distributed Power Unit. What is DPU? DPU is a locomotive in the middle or at the back of the train that has no crew inside of it. However, it takes radio commands from the lead locomotive, which is all the way at the front of the train. DPs help reduce slack action between the couplers. With all that much slack, it can wear and tear down on couplers, and it's easier to separate your train. The DP for CSX I003 is ES44AH 873. Here's why this train is a high priority train, and it's because of this one customer, UPS. UPS is a stickler about getting this stuff to their destinations on time. If you delay UPS on the railroad, you can say goodbye to your job, as UPS carries very high priority. There is no delaying this train, because delaying this train is not an option.
Equipment defect detector. Milepost 29er 1.9er. Track 1. No defects. No defects. Total axle 526. End of transmission.
Hi, 00306, track 1 west, clear, automatic 294. And we got no defects, Syracuse detector, engine 7204.
The only thing that carries a higher priority than the intermodal trains is AMTRAK. This is AMTRAK 281 with AMTRAK P32 AC-DM 712 painted in the Phase 3 colors, followed by 5 amphitheats. The last one is a business class coach. This is a fun one for me because I often do not get to see passenger trains living on the D&H, so this was definitely a special treat. Oh, did you hear that? The dispatcher is talking to another train. And as soon as AMTRAK clears, the signal goes from red to yellow or a flashing green. Next up, 5 minutes later after AMTRAK, came CSX train I-162, an intermodal out of North Baltimore, Ohio, bound for Port New York, New Jersey, intermodal train. This train has a mix of 53-foot containers and 20-foot and 40-foot, which is basically 3 out of the 4 containers you can see on the rails today. The only one not here is a 48-foot. For power today, he's got ET44AH 3317 and ES44AH 3169 as mid-train DPU. What's interesting about this train is that the 53 foots are all at the front, while the rest are 40 foots or 20 feet containers. This train carries containers from MSC, Mayer Sealand, Boyer Fuel, Tex, Trito, The Factor, amongst a few others. This is New York Central's famous water level route. It gets its nickname because it ran next to the Hudson River. Famous trains like the 20th Century Limited pass through here with Dreyfuss Hudsons on the point. The Dreyfuss Hudsons were famous engines that pulled the most famous train in the world, the 20th Century Limited. If there was a dream train that I could ride on, it would be the 20th Century Limited. Dreyfuss Hudsons, streamlined passenger cars, and first class end-to-end. The New York Central would operate from 1853 to 1968. In 1968, they merged with the Pennsylvania Railroad to create Penn Central. Penn Central would operate the line from 1968 to 1976, going bankrupt in that same year. Penn Central is considered the biggest railroad merger failure in history, not even lasting 10 years. On April 1st, 1976, the government would come in to create Conrail. Conrail would operate the line from April 1st, 1976 up until 1998. In 1998, Conrail's territory was split between the Norfolk Southern and the CSX. The CSX got this portion of the water level route that goes through Syracuse. This line roughly sees 40 trains per day, which is incredibly busy and a lot of money heading towards CSX. Up until this point, you might have heard me say ES44AH. Why is there no C at the end? CSX uses the H instead of C at the end of their designations simply because the H just simply means heavy. It was also my first time seeing these 40-foot reefer containers. Unlike their 53-foot counterparts, the refrigerators on these containers are built interior rather than exterior that you would find on the 53-footers. Here comes some more now. Maersk is the main player, along with Hamburg Solid. Next up was CSX Manifest train M634-5, who was running 10 minutes behind the last train we just saw. Second in this train is an old AC4400 CW, still wearing CSX's Yellow Nose 2 paint scheme from the 1990s and late 80s. This is one of my favorite paint schemes from the era. I think the gray, blue, and yellow matches well together. The -5 in M634-5 stands for the date this train started its journey on. In this case, -5 means May 5th, the 5th day in the month. M634 has racks, a small manifest block, and trash cars heading out east. Unlike our last two CSX trains, there is no DP in this one, as this train's not heavy or long enough to require one. So all power, like a normal train, is at the front. However, I don't think we can call that normal for long, as DPs in these massive freight trains are becoming the norm. M634 is Columbus, Ohio manifest traffic to Selkirk, New York, and it runs daily. After M364 passed, I looked over my shoulder, and they're meeting another train. This train is M367. This AC4400 CW, unlike the last one, has been repainted into the Yellow Nose 3. And trailing behind it is another ES44AH number 778. And just like the last train, no DP. M367 is daily Selkirk, New York to Chicago, Illinois manifest freight train. This train had something I'd never seen before, an 89-foot high-cube auto parts boxcar in the mix. This one is painted in the CSX colors. These things haul, you guessed it, auto parts from factory to factory, although I'm not sure if that was what was in this one or it was being reused. M367 has about everything in the book, from tank cars, reefer cars, center beams, box cars, scrappers, gondolas, and covered hoppers.
Equipment defect detector. Milepost 29er 1.9er. Track 1. No defects. No defects. Total axle 636. End of transmission.
M367, no defects, Syracuse, clear 293-294, track 1 west, CSX 559 out.
Next up was CSX train M264. No, not the 264 we normally see on the D&H. This is M264, an automotive job between Frontier Yard in Buffalo to Worcester, Massachusetts. Today he's got an ES44AH3154 and AC4400CW 160, the Yellow Nose 3 boxcar logo scheme. There seems to be a lot of automotive traffic through the Syracuse and water level route area, especially in New York State. Again, this train was not long enough for a DP. With 8,800 horses up at the head end, This train had no problem making its way over the water level route and into Massachusetts. It was getting later in the day, and as the planes were flying over, the trains were also flying. The Syracuse Airport is about 5 miles away from here. Speaking of trains flying, the next train was CSX I-157 from Philadelphia, PA to North Baltimore, Ohio, in a modal train. This one had an ES-44DC and another AC-4400CW in the yellow nose tube paint scheme. Just like our last intermodal train, this one is a mix of 53 footers, 40 footers, and 20 footers. However, this one seems to be more sprinkled out throughout the consist. Interestingly, there are 4 trash containers in this mix, and they're right here. I imagine these are coming out of Massachusetts. They must have been picked up along the way.
CSX Equipment Defect Detector. Milepost 29er 1.9er. Track 2. No defects. No defects. Total axle 3.9er 6. Speed 4.5. End of transmission.
I-157, no defects. Clear 294, track 2 west, CSX 4.
After I-157, it was dinner time. The carousel was operating, but at the time, no one was on it when I came in. My food wasn't ready for dinner quite yet, so I snuck back outside to see a CSX local LO24 coming up. What I did not know was that CSX M205 was coming up right behind me. And I didn't know it until he was right on top of me. So right here, we got a meet from the front row. LO24 is a local that works from DeWitt Yard in Syracuse to Selvey, New York. Tonight, he's got 2 Jeeps for power. The first one is GP40-2 6151. Meanwhile, M205-5 is an auto rack job from Worcester, Massachusetts to Louisville, Kentucky. This is also a good safety reminder. When in double track territory, make sure of your surroundings. In this case, if I was too close to the tracks, I for sure would have been hit. Because this train was very quiet coming up. And like I said, I did not even hear him until the train was right on top of me. Like he was only about 10 feet from where I was standing before I ever heard him. I was too busy focusing on the Jeeps that were coming. M205's power tonight is an ET44AH and an ES44AH in DPU mid-train.
Equipment defect detector. Milepost 2-9er 1.9er. Track 2. No defects. No defects. Total axle 4-9er 2. Speed 4-6. End of transmission.
An hour later, after eating and shopping, we came out to find one more train. This train is CSX train M368-5 from Clearing Yard in Chicago, Illinois to Selkirk, New York manifest freight train. Today's train is powered by 2 ES44DCs, the 5405 and 5288. M368 has tank cars, covered hoppers, center beams with lumber, boxcars, gondolas, amongst a few other cars. M368 was our last train on the CSX, but not our last train of the day. 3 hours later, we were back on the D&H, and as per usual, 16R came up in the dead of night, with typical power, a 60E and 2-9s. 16R is Binghamton, New York to Ayer, Massachusetts manifest freight train. Famous for trash containers and auto racks and a manifest block. Unlike the CSX water level route in Syracuse, this line has a lot more railroad crossing, speed limits are slower, and it's only single track, meaning trains have to stop for one another in sidings and other places to wait on each other. (16R) is a northbound counterpart to the 11R that we saw super early in this video. Tonight's trash section is very short, but the racks are nothing but, having a lot of racks in the mix. It seems like most of the train tonight is out of racks. And we were still not done. Only an hour after that, 31T came north, and he had a very interesting lash up. An NSCS 44AC, a CPES 44AC, and a BNSF GEVO all the way out west. And we NS rail fans don't complain about not seeing NS black and white. Anything that ain't black and white is quite the treat. NS31T is Binghamton, New York to Montreal, Quebec, Canada manifest freight train. However, on the NS listing, it is Binghamton, New York to Saratoga Springs, New York manifest freight train. The train is taken over by Canadian Pacific in Saratoga Springs, where the CP will take it up to the CN, and CN delivers the train in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, its final destination. Usually, the NS power stays on the entire time of the train, and it usually comes back south about 3 days later. And one last train before we leave. Here is another 16R rounding the bend. This is Sunday, May 7th. SD60 with the 2-9s. These guys common power on the DNA. A lot of rail fans complain about these units running up and down this line. One day, they'll all be gone, and this is what we have left. So, in the future, this will be considered historical footage. If you pay close attention, there's an EOT device in the middle of the train tonight, meaning there's 2 EOT devices on this train. EOT stands for Enter Train Device. It's essentially what replaces the boost. EOT tells the locomotive air, speed, and anything that the crew needs to know of what's happening behind them. And as we watch the end of 16R go around the bend here, that'll be it for us. But before we go, there's a few people I gotta thank for the help in the production of this video. First of all, I want to thank Harrison from North Country Trains. He helped out with all the train symbols. He has a YouTube channel called North Country Trains. Go subscribe and check him out. He's always welcoming. Also, I gotta thank my friend Connor Ashley, who helped out with milepost locations, DD locations, and what trains could pop up. So big thank you to those 2 people. But until then, God bless. I'll see you on the bend. Thanks for watching.